Thank you for joining, participants, and here is something to ponder on while we wait for other participants to join us tonight.
So we call this segment something to ponder on while we wait. So if you're here, then kindly have a look. And this is something related to our main content today.
So welcome to webinar 7, and we will begin shortly. This is a quote from Lily Tomlin, which you can ponder on while we wait for other participants.
Okay, so now we shall begin, and hopefully you've had time to ponder about this topic. And firstly, I would just like to say that it was very difficult to stay away from our audience and these webinars for 3 weeks. But during this time, we were planning, and now we're finally back at such an auspicious time because guess what? Tet or Lunar New Year is around the corner. And before we move on, two things to keep in mind. Firstly, let me recognize the elephant in the room. Yes, we do have a new guest co-host. That is Toto. She is a grade 7 student. She is very enthusiastic and hardworking. And our topic for today is student-friendly ways to assign homework. Of course, homework is an essential part of every student's life, so let's discuss this further. So we will begin with talking about the introduction, which will be done in the 3T strategy: meet Toto, Tet, and topic. Then we will talk about the provocation, which we got from a recent participant. And then we'll talk about homework methods. We will present 3 methods that students will love because this is based on our understanding, knowledge, and being students ourselves. And finally, we will have a conclusion session, which is your opportunity to participate as much as you can. So let's begin with the introduction. Toto, let's begin with one fun fact about yourself.
So my name is Toto, and I'm so glad to be co-hosting this webinar with Satika. A fun fact about me is that I can do a bridge and walk on both my hands and my feet at the same time. So let's move on to the second T in our introduction, which is TED. And in light of the very upcoming celebration, let's all turn on the lights filter in the Zoom to be festive, like so.
So we have a Vietnamese festival TED coming up, and Toto, go on.
Yes, so we will give you 30 seconds to turn on the same filter as us, or just give us a thumbs up for us to know you're there.
And please turn on your cameras if you haven't already done so. Let's move on.
So to our last T of our introduction is the topic. So if you already attended some webinars of the TFT, then you would already know the TFT staple, which is a raise hand activity. So let's do one. Raise your hand if you've ever had homework that you've disliked or found overwhelming or not worthy of your efforts.
We have actually six participants raising their hand. And this majority means that boring, overwhelming, stressful homework is an issue that is familiar, that is prevalent within us, and we are familiar with this, and it affects us. So that is precisely why we must take action. That is precisely why TFTF has taken up this topic this time. So let's move on. We will begin by talking about the provocation. Let's lower our hands first. So recently, from a participant, we got this provocation that why would the educator make the efforts and spend the time in making the online learning or learning experience more student-friendly? And here is the response from TFTF and our team. We believe that the field of education must improve. Till today, not every student resonates with their learning, and some even despise the thought of school. TFTF simply asks why, one student problem at a time. In addition to this, student-friendly education has numerous benefits to students. They enjoy learning, identify their talents, develop their personalities, and become the responsible future of tomorrow. It can also save educators effort and time because with student feedback that TFTF is dedicated to providing, your lessons can become much more efficient, improved, and can most importantly speak directly to the student mind of the 21st century. And when they speak directly to the student mind, students like Toto and I take action. We get energized, we feel recognized, and we give our best to education because it is being run in a student-friendly manner. So TFTF loves saying this because it is so important that dear educators, the future of the world may not be in your hands, but it is in your classroom. And that is why this organization, our aim and our mission matters. So hopefully that is a good introduction to the organization. If you are new, you can find out more about us on our social media pages. And let's move on to the 3 methods. So this will come later in the conclusion session. So I'm gonna just help you a little bit here, and we have 3 methods. Just don't sleep for now, pay attention because we will ask questions at the end. The first method is renaming the term homework itself.
Thank you, Satika. So when it comes to homework, we might think of it as intensive, overwhelming, time and energy consuming, and maybe even pointless. Homework often has negative connotations, and sometimes rightfully so. Let's face it, homework is demanding for everyone. You might think that that's not the case for everyone, or that intelligent or more hardworking students have no qualms with homework and will do it diligently. But you'd be wrong. Everyone needs a break, even the educators themselves. One method to redefine homework and dismantle the negative connotations associated with homework is to rename it. By giving homework a more positive name, like the example of cherry ice cream that we have, homework becomes something positive. It also adds creative flair to the class, and in addition, it also marks a new beginning for student-friendly homework.
Rightfully said, Toto, and one very memorable example to me is cherry ice cream, which was presented by my teacher and mentor, Miss Iwana, who is with us today. And I would just say that this was super effective because just think about it. Cherry ice cream is such a delicious and pleasant word, and it is far more interesting than just saying the dull homework. So it's fun, lighthearted, and interesting. Now, because we believe that our audience are creative masters, we would say, why don't you try to put your creativity into use and just comment in the chat or unmute yourself if you have any ideas to rename homework. It could be anything that you like. Okay, I look forward to answers in the chat. Toto, if you had the opportunity to rename homework, what would you rename it to?
I would rename it to the Mexican delicacy of churros because they are so delicious, and I think that I always smile when I think of them because they are so, you know, it's such a great delicacy to eat.
I would go for something a bit simpler like chocolate because I think that's just something I love eating. Someone says burden, okay. That's another way of looking at it. I want to look forward to more responses. Remus says pretzel. So we have a lot of sweet delicacies into play here. Someone says cake. I think that definitely deserved a mention here. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, seeing that there are no other ideas, just put them whenever you find the inspiration. And let's move on to method number 2.
So, method number two is to make it artistic and creative. For many classes, students have to read lengthy texts or write long essays, which are truly tiring. For many students, it's and boring, frankly, to read large chunks of text that they don't enjoy. So instead of reading the lengthy material and forgetting almost all the content, which is irrefutably inefficient, we suggest to implicate less reading for homework but add a short reflection in the homework. A reflection on the reading material about feelings evoked from the text, something learned from the text, or anything else students can reflect on gives students a vessel of expression, and they can also understand the reading material better. Another thing that can be implemented to assign homework in a more student-friendly way is to understand the information learned through different forms of media, aside from writing long essays, paragraphs, or doing exercises in the textbook. The forms of media could be short films, videos, poems, short stories, you name it. Another way to connect with the learning something on a more personal level is to bring something from home for the homework assignment. This could be a book, pictures, memorabilia, or anything connected to the education.
And simply why? Because this makes it much more enjoyable for students. It's different, it's unconventional, and it is something that they will look forward to. And finally, last but not the least, we have food for thought. And I would like to begin this with talking about this reflection that I did. I will read it out loud now. I like having a question to deliberate on, a moral to learn, or a mystery to unravel. It is a lot better than completing exercises 3 to 6 on page 216. Today, wherever you go, there is this very popular idea: work smart, not hard, meaning be creative and innovative with your tasks and do not spend hours and hours repeating the same method over and over again. It is exhausting. But what is interesting is that this idea seldom makes appearance in education or homework. In our very first webinar, TFTF made it clear that we do not need machines or take our followers in the 21st century. We need critical thinkers, people who can think for themselves. So food for thought is a method that involves an idea that stays for a long time in students' minds and gets them thinking. Examples may include open-ended questions, debatable questions, your interpretation of a quote. You can also come up with your own creative examples, but just something to fuel the creativity of students. In fact, I was reading this beautiful book on TED Talks, which are a very popular medium of information. And TED Talks are known for their popularity and how well they're presented. And it says that ideas are the currency of the 21st century. And it is up to the educators and also students themselves to promote this currency, to promote ideas. Once again, work smart, not hard. We need critical thinkers, not just workers and followers. So seeing that we have covered all the three topics, Toto, can you give our audience a reminder about what the three topics were, or three
Yes,
methods were?
of course. Yes. So the method one was renaming homework, method two was making it artistic and creative, and lastly, method three is food for thought.
Okay, audience, please remember these. And now we will move on to this very interesting prompt, which is, what do students think of doing schoolwork and homework both at home, which is obviously the case during online learning. So I will start us off by talking about the first major problem is that there is simply no distinction. We do both our schoolwork and homework sitting in front of the same laptop screen, on the same desk, in the same room every single day. Students can get mentally exhausted, physically tired, socially disconnected, and internally bored. TFTF recognizes the fact that schoolwork needs to be done through a laptop and in online meetings because the entire class needs to be together. But with homework, the possibilities are endless. I would request my audience to think about it. You can paint, dance, draw, sing, exercise, write, perform, and interact without the convention of online learning measures. And yet the homework we're getting is unfortunately no different. So please have a think about it. Homework needs a distinction from schoolwork. Otherwise, it is just additional work. I would also like to read this response that was collected from a survey that our co-host Toto did. This person says, I think that doing both of them at the same time is hard. It feels like you get double the workload. And it's even harder when there's nothing to motivate you to do it too. And this will lead us beautifully into the next idea, which Toto will present.
Thank you, Sadika. I would like to reiterate what my lovely co-host was saying earlier, which is that it was so hard to do both schoolwork and homework at home. It's hard to juggle both schoolwork and homework because it's just too much. The workload is too much, and it slowly evolves into heavy weight for the students to bear on their backs. This quote describes it perfectly. I find it very stressful to manage both homework and classwork on a daily basis, because not only do you have a lot of work to do, but it can also be very difficult to communicate with each other, which makes it hard for teachers to get feedback. This quote is summarizing it perfectly, and it's not just their own reality, it's reality for almost all of us. And this is why we need to change our ways in order to have a brighter future for what Sadika said earlier for the critical thinkers of the 21st century.
Definitely, Toto. So I would request all the educators, students, and participants present in the room to think about this. Why have we not recognized these problems earlier and implemented them? And then, of course, take action. And speaking of taking action, it is time for you to activate yourself because we are moving on to our conclusion session. Our content delivery has just ended, and we will move on to this conclusion session where we will start with a 5 minutes Q&A. Now, don't just limit this to questions and answers. Go ahead, ask questions, or if you have any or comments, or you could just also start a discussion, or maybe just complete the previous activity of coming up with a different name for homework. And after that, we will move into an exit ticket quiz. But firstly, let's think about the Q&A session. Please raise your hand if you have any will to participate in this.
Can I?
Of course, go ahead.
My question's about the first method, name your homework. So when you presented the idea, it didn't really affect me because if you just name your homework, it's basically gonna stay the same because you still have that burden on yourself.
Of course. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. That one method is not enough to solve the entire problem, but it is a tiny step towards change, at least to get more positive connotations from the same word. So that is what matters there. But of course, that is not a huge change in itself, but that is well spotted. But I believe that, change will happen if we make these small changes in our education system. No change can be achieved overnight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing that there are not a lot of people who want to participate. So I would like to ask students to share their experience with homework. Has there been any incident in which you got trouble for not doing your homework, or anything related in which you had a homework that you did not really like, or even better, a homework that you liked a lot, and why you would like to share that? Anyone at all?
Well, I would like to pitch in a little bit.
Okay, can we please come back to you because Remus raised your hand first, I believe.
I'm so sorry. Pardon my bad manners.
Yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to say there was this one homework recently which we had to watch a 24-minute episode, and I didn't want to watch it. We had to watch it all, and then we had to write about it and answer a few questions, which is, I think, like I had to watch it on like 2 times speed because I felt like it was a waste of time and I didn't really want to watch it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Mr. Akash.
Well, okay. I would like to have a little discussion on this, a little debate between all the students who were present here. Back in old days, when we used to have holidays from our schools, we used to get off homework. You know, those 2 months, and our teachers used to burden us with some writings, never-ending history readings, and it was actually killing, boring. And what I said, it was a burden for me. As per me, my holidays were supposed to be enjoyable, but that burden of homework always used to loom on our heads, and our parents used to be, right behind us. Have you completed something? So I would like to know, as far as the students today are concerned, what do you feel about when you get whatever amount of homework you get for your holidays? What is your thinking about it?
That is a very interesting prompt. Soham, do you have anything to say about this?
I have two things. First, I want to share one of the homeworks I love. So there used to be a homework in which my teacher used to assign everyone maths, like a mini test every week. And I used to love doing that because I love maths and it was a test. I also love tests. And to add on Mr. Akash's inquiry.
Can you please repeat that last bit because your camera was moving. Your microphone was moving, yeah.
Okay, so to add to Mr. Akas's inquiry, some kids do not have homework for breaks, for example me, but if I would have, I would hate that because there is a break for a reason, and I think students should have the time to relax and enjoy.
Okay. Remus.
Yeah, I agree with Soham. The holiday is supposed to be a time for us students to be able to mentally recover from the school semester for like a week or 2 or 3. And I definitely think that putting work there will not help at all. It's just like we're just back in school, just a little bit less since it's online anyways. So I think that there shouldn't be homework during holiday. Yeah.
Okay. And Tommy, do you have similar opinions?
Yes.
Be careful of the echo. Okay, whenever you're ready.
I think that the break is a good time for students to either do their missing assignments or just relax because usually I spend it doing my missing assignments or doing the assignment progress.
Okay, that's another way of looking at it. So just catching up on the work you've not done. Actually, before I entertain Mr. Cash's point, I would just like to add my own opinion as a person like who likes homework. And I like studying a lot. I'm an academic person, but considering everyone's opinion, yes, I would confess that homework can be a burden in summer holidays. But I think, you know, you get that feeling when you come back from homework, from your break, that you've lost all the knowledge. You kind of feel not confident in taking a quiz because you do not have that knowledge in you. And there is a quote for this. It is, if you don't use it, you will lose it. So I wouldn't necessarily call it summer homework. Teachers should be considerate about the amount, but they should still have some simulating activities. That is how I would rephrase it, that provoke, inspire, and educate students through fun activities, because breaks are supposed to be for students to do learning on their own pace and spend the time in whatever way they find suitable. Mr. Cash and then Ms. Iwana.
Okay, so let me ask you one question. In a normal school scenario, when you're having a normal schedule, how much time do you actually get to devote towards any of your personal activity or any of your personal hobbies that you might like to pursue? Can you please answer me, host?
Are you asking me? Okay. At first, when I was in grade 6 or grade 7, I did not have much time for my personal activities. But then soon I learned to create that time, to find time to do my homework at some other time. So the homework I usually get is not that burdensome, but I have heard from my friends and the people I work with that the homework is not exactly student friendly and it is not something that they would be interested in. So I would say that I do pretty good at that level, but that's through practice through years.
Well, that answers what Remus also said, that during the study break that you get, during the holidays that we get, and I would say that all of the schools today, they talk about holistic development of the students, okay? I sincerely believe that when you get a longer break of 1 month or 2 months, whatever day it is, that gives you an opportunity to kind of touch upon another side of yourself, to pursue your own personal interests. You might not get time in your regular student life to pursue those hobbies. You might go on having whatever your personal likings are. You might like to go for a creative writing course during those summer vacations. Somebody might like to go for some martial arts or any other sport that he or she likes. I think that's a perfect opportunity for a person to pursue his passion by limiting you to the very curriculum, which is kind of still in question as raised by TFTF. So you're kind of supporting them by supporting the idea of homework in summer vacations. That's my idea. You guys are innovative. You guys are new thinkers. You are new citizens of the country, of the world. So why not? Why not give you an opportunity of those few days to think, ponder, and pursue something new? You yourself are advocating about people coming up with new ideas. You don't want machines. So why don't you want the schools to give you that free time to think whatever you want?
That is a very valid point. And I think just to support students in finding their true passion and achieving what they would like, schools could come up with like this quick guide that if you have a passion you want to achieve, they could just give you a few tips rather than leaving it just to some academic interests. So Ms. Iwana?
Thank you, and thank you all the three speakers who contributed to this wonderful webinar. As always, thank you, Sarika. I have three very short points. I don't want to talk for that much. I would like to leave you hanging a little bit, and I would like to provoke, maybe also inspire next webinar on clashes and on dictophony and on paradoxes. So paradox number one, educators, me included, we tend to preach of education and learning does not only happen in the classroom. You need to learn out of classroom. You need to keep on learning out of comfort zone, thinking without the box, out of the box. And suddenly, when there is holidays, we are so petrified that we're going to lose control over you, that we give you this homework so that you have no time to actually learn out of classroom. And that's the paradox that I noticed. Paradox number one. So I would like you to think about it, whether you only learn by completing, writing, and calculating and providing proof of your work, or are you actually able to learn without doing all that stuff, and you keep on learning and developing while, and now it's point two, reflecting, while meditating, while actually daydreaming. So I happen to give my students homework or can you please reflect for 5 minutes before you go to bed? Can you please recap everything what happened to you? Can you please talk to your parents and tell your parents what happened at school? Because this is a way of consolidating your material. So your brain works when you're silent. Your brain performs and connects when you're actually not doing much. So you need this time for reflection. So my homework also used to be, and well, sometimes is, do not write anything. I actually don't want to write anything. I don't want you to do anything. I want you to nothing. And I want you to think. I want you to reflect. I just want you to sit and daydream. And the third point, I would like also to show a paradox that we nonstop talk about communication is a two-way path. Then we give students tips during the exam, when you have a speaking exam, oral exam, whatsoever. The highest benchmark is when you are able to ask the examiner a question. So we are teaching the students to be proactive. But we are not actually that honest in this proactiveness, because I have never heard about students giving homework to teachers. So why is homework only one way path? Who decided and when did it happen? Because I can't really recall that homework, it means teachers giving loads of work to the students. Why cannot students give homework to teachers? Why none of my students in 28 years of my experience of teaching has never ever suggested me to do homework for them? So I'm asking the host, Sadika, you have never given me any homework. I can't remember you giving me homework. Why don't you dare break this unwritten law? Actually, I don't know. That's it from me.
Those are some awesome reflections, Ms. Ilana. I do not feel like giving homework because this idea was never introduced to me. And I think there is this kind of social hierarchy that only a teacher is supposed to be giving homework. But like you said, that is not a rule. And I would definitely like to, TFTF would definitely like to entertain that in our upcoming webinar. However, now due to some time constraints, we will be doing our exit ticket and only question number 3. And this will be a very quick round. So just get ready and type down your answers as soon as possible. Toto, please read question number 3 for us.
Yes, thank you, Sadika. So question number 3 is, what is your favorite method? And there are 2 ways of answering this. You can write it in the chat or you can unmute yourself to say it.
So remember, method number 1, rename the term. Method number 2 is to be artistic and creative. And method number 3 is food for thought. You can just put the number, that's okay. So my favorite method is method number 1 because it's very simple. Okay, we have 3 votes for 3. What a coincidence. Method 4, 3. Any other opinions?
I thought there was only 3 methods.
Oh yeah, good reminder. Miss Iwana, what is method 4? Oh, okay.
I just shared method 4, because we're talking about differentiation and we're talking about optimization and working with students and providing tailored education for a student. Why can't we ask students to create their own assignment for themselves? Because students kind of know what they're missing, and students know what they would like to work on more. So we could actually, again, involve students to create homework themselves, mentoring them, and then the teacher will have to just review and give them green light. That will be fabulous self-driven agency.
I agree. Remus, we have time constraints, so 30 seconds, come on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, actually, you can speak just 30 seconds. I'm sorry, I have to limit your time.
You can either get homework from teacher or make your own.
Okay, I thought you had some internet issues there. Hopefully that wasn't only me. Hopefully that was just me so that everyone could hear. And in this remaining time, we would, as always, like to take a picture to seal this memory and have it with us. So I will stop sharing now. And Toto, our co-host, could you please take a lovely picture of everyone here? Kindly turn on your cameras. Have this matching filter with us.
I don't have that filter.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1. And
One
let's
more
use the
Toto. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And that's all.
Thank you so much for joining. And just a quick message to Miss Iwana's idea. I think creating your own assignments is definitely exciting. Just give me a thumbs up if you agree with Miss Iwana's idea. And I would say, I think what teachers do with giving students summer homework is that they're doing the job for them. So maybe they could have a separate course for something called lifelong learning, setting your own goals and pursuing them yourself without that extra push that teachers give you unconsciously, consciously during summer vacation. And with that, Toto, would you like to close this webinar for everyone?
Yes, of course. So I would just like to say a quick few words. Like, I'm so honored to be invited on here by Sadika, and I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful for the lovely audience and participation today. And I hope that Sadika has more and so many more successful webinars. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, happy Lunar New Year. And bye. That's all for today. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Have a good